Are you in or are you out on the officiating? It seems to be a big deal here with people.
I mean, I'm pretty reasonable, and I think generally it's been better all year. And when you have 68 games, you hope you don't have a couple. But boy, they were bad in the Baylor game, and the missed call at the end of the Arizona-TCU game, that feels like a tournament changer. You know, and I again, I have a personal background in this. 2000, we played Florida in the Elite Eight. If you go back first round, our ex-teammate Scott Robish takes a charge on Florida, not called. He was a little bit far back, whatever. He's falling back. Florida wins. I think Mike Miller scored at the buzzer, right at the bucket. Round one. If that call is different, right? Florida doesn't move on. We probably play Duke. Duke's really young in the Elite Eight. We go to the Final Four. Life changes. TCU was going to have Mike Miles at the free throw line. And to people who ask, like, what was he doing? He's just dribbling around. Like, okay, look, if you get quick double, and I don't like I don't really know why you bring a big guy up only to get a switch, I guess. High ball string. Like, just let him go.
But they weren't switching. They were just trapping. They weren't switching. So that was dumb.
So it was a smart play to try and dribble out of the trap. Like, I actually teach that. Like, look, you can pass it out of the trap, but you can also, if you think the big guy's slow enough, like, go beat him, get him on your hip and go. Now it's 5-on-3. But he couldn't get around that corner. That's great defense. Then he comes back. I thought it was pretty obvious he was fouled. Like, did he throw his head back? Like, yeah, but he was dislodged. You have to call a foul or backcourt violation. One of the two. You don't get away with not doing it. It's not the way the profession works. So I thought it was bad. I thought they were out of position. And then I thought the Baylor thing was a debacle. And, you know, we do this with, and I've been anti-replay of elbow for the longest time because there's a lot of context that's needed with every elbow, right? One, I mean, is it the first elbow or are we catching up on something else? That's the reality of sport. Or two, in this case, like Brady Manicky got it high and he may have meant to do it. Okay. Like basketball, like you're going to catch an elbow. But was that offense so sinister? It goes from, we're going to eject him from the game. Like, oh, and then usually when a kid gets ejected or a coach gets a technical foul, usually the officials help that team out. They're like, all right, we got rid of one of your guys. We'll give you a couple calls. It got worse. Now, I will also credit Baylor in that Baylor, you sense that. Hey, they ain't calling shit. Like, let's get up and full court deny and just be super physical. Like, I'll coach that. I mean, Louisville, Rick Pitino, or Georgetown and John Thompson, like their basic defensive philosophy was they can't call every foul. So if we all foul on every play, can't call every one, right? And that's basically what Baylor was doing, only they weren't calling any fouls. And then North Carolina, they got a little country club to them. Like they did not like, I mean, it wasn't Carolina, was it? It was, who beat Baylor? It was Carolina. Yeah.
North Carolina. They
did not like that. Now, I don't know what they kept running the same press break, and then they got super tight. But I do think that the officiating was atrocious there. Like, look, at some point, a guy's trying to get open. Like, you got to call a foul. You got to call the first one because otherwise, then it gets really ugly. So, do I think the officiating is just some abject disaster? No, a lot of good basketball, a lot of good officiating. I think we put them in a bad. We give them a no-win situation with the block charge rules. Like, you got kids just taking dives left and right. Like, that's not the official's fault. It's maybe one official's fault. The kicking at the legs is hard to see in real time, really is. But there are some basic things that you have to know, and there's some basic ways in which you have to handle it, which I think in some of the big games was missing. And it was bad. It was bad, but I'm not somebody who thinks the officiating is roundly just all of it is bad, but there's some bad ones. And there's some, my brother is one of these. He thinks that there should be a sixth foul. He's like, look, I think there should be a sixth foul, especially for the NCAA tournament, because we came to see the kids play. And I was like, yeah, but it changes everything with rotations. And I get it. It's just the idea that officials sometimes make a bad call. And one bad call in college basketball affects you way more so than in the NBA with 5 fouls. I don't know if I agree with that one.